The premise for Mr. Mom is that a auto worker, played by Michael Keaton, gets laid off. And in order for the family to continue to survive, his wife, played by Terry Garr, has to go out into the workforce, leaving him at home alone with the children.
The premise of Mr. Mom actually came about, I think, from what was going on in the 1980s.
A lot of men lost their jobs, and therefore their wives went back to work or to work. And they were left at home taking care of the kids.
It was something that, particularly at that time, as women were really going back into the workforce, it was very identifiable to a lot of families.
So essentially what Mr. Mom is, it has a reality background to it.
And the sort of strange domestic comedy that ensues from that notion 25 years ago, 30 years ago. Oh my God. Oh.
Please, hey, please, Daddy will buy you a T-bird, okay? You want a T-bird? Please, put your bum down there, honey, okay?
The genesis of the project is really great. I had read John Hughes in National Lampoon, and I thought he was funny. Brilliant me. So I found him, and I called him up. And I think it was because John is from Chicago, and I am from Cleveland. We're both Midwesterners, very much Midwesterners. And we bonded over the phone. And we kind of became friends on the phone. And I had an idea I wanted him to write. He didn't want to write it, but he had something he was writing. He asked me to come on to it. So we were talking, as we would daily, about this script. And he told me his wife had gone to Arizona, and he was in charge of the boys.
His wife went to work, and he was left with 2 young sons to take care of. And he knew nothing about homemaking, and he knew nothing about taking care of the 2 kids.
He had never been to a grocery store. He had been with Nancy all through college, and before that, his mother took care of him. And he was literally like an idiot with these children, and it was hilarious.
And apparently he wrote these down. He wrote his experiences down every single day and showed them to Lauren Shuler.
He said, I have 80 pages in a drawer of a script called Mr. Mom. Do you want to read it? And I said, of course. And I read it, and it was great.
It was a very real premise, which is really what John Hughes was so good at. I mean, the vacation movies were really originally based on his family vacations.
And so I just gave him a few ideas. He filled it out. And that was how Mr. Mom was born.
Where does Bobby keep the extra diapers? Hey! Cowards.
I had a friend named Lori Perlman who was an agent at CAA. And she represented talent. She represented Michael Keaton. So it was her job to let producers know that she had this wonderfully talented guy.
I'll tell you what, just give me a quarter-pound of cheese.
American blue, cream, cottage, Gouda, Edam, provolone, Romano, Swiss. You have your entire cheddar family.
Can you run the hams back one more time? I just want to...
I think she knew I was developing this with John. And she said, oh, this movie's coming out starring my client, Michael Keaton. It's called Night Shift. You must see it. So I went to see it because Lori's a friend. And I could not wait to get out of the theater and give Mr. Mom to Michael Keaton. He was so good. So he was attached from the very beginning.
Michael Keaton had just come off of doing his first movie, but this movie was the first one that he actually carried completely on his shoulders, and it catapulted him into immediate stardom because he was lovable, he was funny, an adorable guy.
I remember it well, just charming. He was sweet. He never demeaned any of the kids. He was never snippy with us. He was always ready to work with us to make it funnier. He was always ready with a suggestion or ready to play. Watching him deliver the Whoopi speech was just spectacular. I have such clear memories of that and how beautiful that was, and just figuring out the pacing in the moment of the fireplace sequence. And he was very helpful and just charming and fun.
one of the things that was really kind of wonderful about working with an actor like Michael Keaton specifically is kind of how spontaneous he is. So truthfully, the thing that's going on in my brain the entire time is keep up, because he's so magnetic and he's such a wonderful actor and he's so spontaneous and organic that whether it's on screen or off, the amount of energy that he has is contagious and really wonderful for a kid to be around.
He had all of us laughing at all times. The last time I saw a comedic mind like that work overtime was Mickey Rooney. You had to walk behind him with a pad because his mind was always going and he was always funny, always funny. Same thing with Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton could take an inanimate object and make it funny. Everything that he did about it, with it, said about it, it was funny. He's a very talented guy.
Taking advantage of some of the time off to add a whole new wing on here, and we rip these walls out and, of course, rewire it.
Yeah, you gonna make it all 220?
Yeah, 220, 221, whatever it takes.
First of all, he's unpredictable, and that draws you to him. And that's what's so great about him. He's not just a comedian, but there's a darkness. And that was good to color it, because it was such a nice movie. It was good to make it a little messy.
Oh, do you want me to answer it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, here we go. Hello? Okay. Oh, over there, I guess.
Terry Garr was also a delightful lady. She was very pleasant, very witty on the set.
Terry was lovely. She's just an absolute gem of a human being.
Terry was great. I mean, Terry was a better-known comedic actress, and she and Michael really complimented each other. And she was just, I think, the right person for the role.
Terry was a lot of fun. She was a little, I won't say distance, not the right word. She didn't necessarily jump in with everybody all the time, but she was super sweet.
She kept to herself, really. She was kind of a private person. I understand that. But I was delighted at one point to have had lunch with her, and we had nice girl talks and chatted up and giggled like girls do.
If you wanted to just sit and enjoy someone's company, she was always the person on set that at least that we knew that we would go hang out with when we wanted some nice quiet time and for someone to just enjoy your company and not necessarily try and activate you, which a lot of people try and do when you're a kid on a set, is they're trying to get a reaction out of you.
She was just exactly as she is in the film with the kids.
Morning, Alex.
But, hi, Bobby.
Did you sleep good?
I'll wait, Kenny.
Okay, but don't touch his wobie.
She brought sweets a lot. Oh, there were some wonderful, wonderful. I think that might have been my first chocolate-covered strawberry was because of her. That was pretty intense. Everybody was so bloody nice. I really keep hoping I'm going to run into someone I have a bad word to say of, but everybody was so happy to be there.
Everybody was top-notch, no matter what part they had.
And Jillian, Martin Mull.
Christopher Lloyd and Jeffrey Tambor, a young Jeffrey Tambor. A young all of them. We were all young then. I just ran into Jeffrey Tambor at the Golden Globes, and he reminded me that he was in Mr. Mom. It had been so long, I had almost forgotten.
Yeah, it's a great group.
The scene doing with the cards, everybody, they knew their stuff. They knew what they were doing, and they made that live. And it was a real pleasure working with people like that.
I think that being involved with that group really for me was just being kind of around them. I mean, truthfully, I don't know that much of the humor really was something that I absorbed at the time. I would imagine that a lot of it was over my head. But when you're around funny people, even if you don't fully understand kind of the context of the jokes or what's going on situationally, I think you feed off of that kind of energy. And most of that energy is really warm and really kind. And I think that when you're working with people where there is a setup and a punchline and there's a lot of give and take, it's a really supportive environment. And I think that more than anything is what a kid would pick up on. And certainly that's what I picked up on, is that it's okay to be silly and fun and do the job. And the job is silly and fun. And they were such great examples on how to make that work.
Hi, everybody. Mommy's home.
Hi, Mommy.
Those kids were as cute as can be.
And the looks and the actions, and they were amazing, amazing. The baby was amazing.
Having been a child actress myself, it was very heartwarming to see them in the scenes. And it's true, whatever scene a child is in or an animal is in, they steal the show. So it was wonderful. It's great. I hope they enjoyed making it.
Hold on a minute. Jenny, give me that sword.
I believe that I'm about a year older than Taliesin, I would guess. So if I'm 6, he's 5. And it was a big playground. I mean, he was kind of my compatriot in that. It was either having fun in the scenes on set, or having fun in school, or just running amok. I mean, that, is kind of what that entire situation was. And he was, a great partner in crime.
It was really nice to have somebody at eye level, or he was slightly taller, who really understood just the right amount of fun and just the right amount to be a kid, and then when to sort of shut that off and be an actor, and was really always fun to play with.
Lean back and enjoy all the good sounds that we're going to be playing for you. Of course, I always play your favorite. That's such a nice guy.
I've been on so many shoots where kids become a problem, and I was always I didn't want to be that problem as a kid, but this was a shoot where it never felt that way, and he was mature, but not too mature, I suppose would be my brother Fred.
I think it's safe to say that for a 6-year-old actor to be on a film set, generally it's kind of divided into 2 main parts. There's school, and then there's being on set. And I couldn't tell you, in all honesty, what the division of that was. But you would be at school, you would work on whatever lessons or schoolwork that you had, and then they would pull you to set, you'd rehearse, and you would shoot. And then somewhere in there, you'd go back to school, or you would have lunch, and it's a balancing act between these different dynamics.
It's difficult because of the hours, because you're very restricted in the hours. But what you get, impromptu is worth it. It's wonderful.
Can I have a moment to myself, please?
Absolutely.
I forgot my line. That was literally me just trying to bullshit I had forgotten what I was actually supposed to say. I don't remember why it was such a problem, but that was actually what I sounded like as a child. It made the crew laugh pretty hard. We were quite pleased with it. I was a little embarrassed for forgetting the lines. I deeply believed in professionalism at the time, but I'm glad it worked out, and it did make the cut. I was quite happy about that. And it's like this 4 seconds where I'm like, my soul is laid bare on film for the end of time, where I can prove to anybody who knows me, I've been this way. I was a very, very mature 6-year-old. Now I'm like a deeply emotionally stunted 40-year-old. It's great.
Kenny! Don't paint your sister!
I'm a big believer that I think that kids, and maybe this isn't true of all children, but I think that, when you treat a child with a certain amount of respect, and you treat them kind of expecting a certain amount of maturity, if they can, they will rise to that. And I think a lot of that is dependent upon what your experiences are early and who you get to work with early, because they really do set the table for what is expected, for what is needed, and ask you to rise to that. I don't know why I could, or why it worked out the way that it did, but I really do attribute, I think, a lot of that to the fact that those people in that project at that period of time at such a formative age were so wonderful.
Daddy?
Hi. Come on, I'm taking you guys to bed.
Can we call Mommy?
No, we can't. She's in California.
I want to talk to Mommy, too.
I've worked with tons of kids over the years, and so you kind of get used to the routine. I mean, kids, just like adult actors, get tired sometimes, and they get cranky sometimes. As a matter of fact, I wish I could remember the exact phrase, because it was so classic. It was one of the kids, and I don't remember which one, but one of them said something like, "I'm tired, I'm hungry, and I want to be with my mommy." And I was like, welcome to the club.
Daddy, my whoopie's ripped.
Ken, you know what? Maybe it's time to get rid of the whoopee, all right?
No!
Okay, all right. Give me it.
The truth of the matter is, and this really is across the board from the director, Sandra Gotti, to the cast, specifically Michael and Terry Garr, it was familial. and it was really safe and lovely, and everybody was warm. The kids were allowed to be kids, but it was also structured so that we could have a good time and get the shots that we needed to get and do the scenes. And it was so healthy, strangely, to even characterize it as such. But there are so many experiences I think that a young actor can have that aren't. And that was really, in a way, perfect.
Daddy's betting Mommy $100 to just her $1 that she doesn't get a job before me. Kenny, hold the money.
I better hold it, Dad. Money makes him crazy.
Good point.
Isn't healthy.
Well, it may not be healthy, but it's fun.
Yeah, Jack.
Absolutely.
The thing that I remember most about Stan is patience. Certainly can be experiences where I think working with kid actors can be tough. It can be long hours. It can be, depending upon the child's age, it can be a difficult situation to really decipher what a director wants, or what to do, or you get bored, or you just don't want to, you'd rather be doing something else. And the amount of patience and kind of the steady, calm hand that he had, specifically with me, with the kids, was really, really helpful and really kind.
He was fun. He was jokey without it ever feeling like everything was slowing down. I never felt like it was bogged down by people trying to have too much fun, which I know sounds weird. He demanded that I learn a little bit of his repertoire. I saw Love at First Bite at a very young age because of him. He insisted. He was a lot of fun and somehow managed to always make it very playful, but it never felt like you weren't getting the work done. And seemed really, and maybe I'm projecting now, but seemed at the time very pleased that he had a group of kids who were really into having fun, but also not running off camera and getting distracted by things flying away in the distance. And we were all really excited to be doing the work, and he made it fun to do.
Alex, Kenny, come on, hurry up. That's good. Step 2, 2, 3, 4. That's it. Nice, boys. You look real nice.
Does Daddy know we got fired yet?
Yes, he knows, but we're not going to mention it to him, are we, honey? We want Daddy to feel good, don't we?
You hear that?
He's coming now. Everybody smile real big.
Hi, Dad.
Stan was a lovely man, really a lovely man.
My first thought when I think about him as a director was that he was fun. He had fun with everybody. He had fun with Michael, who was great. And he had fun with Terry and me and everybody on the set.
I have a philosophy that the director's personality gets on the screen. And Stan is a very sweet human being, and I think that sweetness got on the screen because of Stan.
How about this food?
Very good. You signed out for Chinese food, huh?
No. Kenny made this.
Being that he came from some fashion background, he had a real eye for what people were wearing. And there was a scene where we were shooting on the street in Westwood, California. For those of you that don't know, it's where UCLA is, but it's kind of a very pretty suburban streets. And we were on the street, and he said, "I don't like that sweater you're wearing." And wardrobe said, "Well, we don't have anything else." And he looks across the street and he sees this woman and he goes, "Go ask her if we can use her sweater." And it was Patty Duke. And she walks over and he goes, "Can we use your sweater?" And I was a little bit horrified. And I said to her, "I'm really sorry." She goes, "Oh, that's okay." And she gave me her sweater. I wore it for the scene.
I promised Jack I wouldn't say anything. Now remember, this is in strictest confidence.
I'll tell you a story about the house. So we had a location manager who was looking for the house. We wanted to shoot this in Chicago, where John lived, in the Midwest. And oddly enough, it was even though they had a film commission, and I believe they gave a little bit of percentage back, it was too expensive to send a crew there. So we had to double LA for Chicago. John and I had seen a house in our minds, or I certainly saw a certain house in my mind, and the location manager was not bringing us back that house. So I got in my car and I drove around and stopped and took a picture of that. And they agreed. We painted it yellow with white fence, and they got their house painted newly, and and of course planted and landscaped and everything else.
Come here.
Okay.
Go get him.
Oh, thanks for the loan.
And then, of course, some of it is set.
Most of it was in the soundstage, and you can just abuse the living hell out of those sound stages. It was great. Hours a day just running around a fake house with a remote control powered vacuum cleaner is pretty spectacular. I remember specifically of the Jaws vacuum cleaner sequence and the crazed prop man just perched right above the set with a remote control having way too much fun. That thing was hollowed out and basically a RC truck was put under there.
Now look. Okay, run!
There were multiple Whoopies. There are always multiple everythings. They had 3 of everything. And like the Jaws one, I know it looked, they just tied it to the bottom. Eventually, many years later in my 20s, I had a friend make me a prop replica based on, they had taken photographs and there was a friend who owned a yarn store and they had meticulously crafted one that was an impressive copy, I will say.
I think that the scenes for me that really stick out that I participated in were the scene after Michael takes Taliesin's whoopee away. And he comes out of the room with it, and he's walking down the stairs to find me sitting there waiting for him. He sits down, I put my hand on his shoulder and say, "You had to do it." To me, that's a really clear kind of example of who Alex is and the relationship that he has with his father.
You had to do it.
The washing machine and watching them trying to figure out how to make that thing jump more and get worse and get bigger, and that was a big fun one. The chili mess and just having people delicately apply chili to your face is an experience every human being should go through.
One of the scenes that I remember the most was the grilled cheese sandwich, and I don't even particularly know why I remember it so vividly, but certainly it is one of the most clear memories that I have from the film. It was just fun to kind of put it down, have him do it with the iron, and I remember being just really kind of overjoyed in that scene. Maybe it was the grilled cheese.
I've been thinking.
Dad?
Yeah?
Well, wait till
This is cold and the cheese isn't hardly melted down.
we'll try everything
Okay.
we can to make this work.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got a stake in this kid.
I do remember we had terrible weather that year. We had horrible rains that year. Things kept getting postponed, and there was a lot of that kind of thing to deal with.
Hi, Jack. I'm Annette.
You know what? It's hard for me to remember whether that was real rain or they added the rain. I think they added rain to what was already there to make it match. But yeah, you're doing it wrong. It's sort of, people have repeated that line back to me many times.
You're doing it wrong.
We had the Halloween shoot where we were outside at night.
The Halloween sequence and the costumes, I was a big costume kid. I had a lot of costumes. I think parts of that either came from my wardrobe or I may have delicately tried to purloin as much as I could from the Halloween night. I think I may have ended up with the night costume eventually. So I was very intense about what we were wearing and that all the pieces were properly assembled. I was that kid who would, like, even going out, if I had to wear a suit, I would only do it if I could wear a Superman shirt underneath so I could be pretending to be Clark Kent. That is really something that would happen.
Little woman's off again, huh?
Shut up, Annette.
I loved being the cat. I enjoyed it. I loved the nose, the ears. I loved it.
Oh, they had some great costumes. little plastic bib ones with the fake. You can see a few of those running around. Even as a kid, like the vintage stuff, I was like, oh, that's really good. Oh, that's really good. Where did that come from?
And being with the kids who absolutely enjoy it was great. It was so much fun. I felt like a kid again. For me, there was another part in the film that I look at with pride. One that I look at with delight and joy, which was the cat. The other one was, dare I say it, the teddy. So it's a nice thing to remember, because I've changed.
Oh my God.
I actually prepared for that dream scene that was like a soap opera by remembering my mother watching the soaps from morning till late afternoon. And I always remember when they started using the music. So in my head, I had the music going. And I kind of thought I'd make it camp, which I think everybody did. And we all had a good time doing it, because we had to stop filming several times because we were laughing when Michael did his antics. The beer can, the leaning over, looking at his outline on the floor and then moving into it because he didn't hit his mark. But he was hysterical. He was hysterical, and he made all of us laugh, so we had to redo things a lot.
Honey, wait, please, come on, it's just a one kiss.
I'll bet.
Honey, what about the kids? The kids are just outside.
I've thought of the kids. The kids won't hear a thing.
Shoot me. Shoot me. You're right. God knows I'm guilty. I deserve it.
My hair came about by way of a miniseries that I did just before, and that was Malibu. And on PCH, in the hairdressing department and the makeup department, with George Hamilton sitting next to me, the call came in and said, would you please cut your hair and dye it, because we already have someone who has a similar haircut. And it was Kim Novak at the time. So I said, well, of course, okay, go for it. And so they're cutting my hair, and now I had short auburn hair. Well, now time goes by, and I'm called in to meet with the producers of Mr. Mom. So I got myself a wig of my own type of hair. So I would come in familiar to them. And Lynn Loring looks at me and she says, Anne, would you be okay with cutting your hair short and going a little auburn? So I took the wig off, and there it was. But it was instant.
There's your Daddy. She's yours, and I'm Joan.
Hi, thanks.
Carolyn told me you'd be around.
Yeah.
Can I give you a hand?
You give me both of them. I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
The reviews were horrible. They outdid themselves in how much they could pan that movie. That movie did so well at the box office. It bought me my first house. And a whole lot of people who were involved in that movie got their houses from that movie. It did so well.
You know, I actually was doing an awful lot of traveling with personal appearances and various different things. So I was not in town for the initial viewing of it, which was just as good, because I hate watching myself. I can't stand it. I know of quite a few actors who are kind of the same way, because we know better than anybody else what we wanted to do, what we should have done, what we could have done. Did we do it? There's always that perfectionism. You want to make sure that it was right, and I get a little squeamish about it.
It's kind of hard for me to watch old movies, to tell you the truth. I mean, I'm not going to say that I don't enjoy it, but it's just something that I usually don't make a big effort to do.
It's a very unique and strange experience to watch yourself at 6 years old. There's no way around that. Outside of that, I think that for me, when I've seen it at varying points, I do get different things out of it. I watched it probably the last time somewhere within the past 10 years and was just really over the moon about Michael Keaton's performance in it, and just how funny it is. The relationship between he and the kids, the relationship between he and the wife, the relationship between he and Jillian, the neighbor. It's just good comedy, like just really good, solid situational comedy. And he's so adept at that. that actor to actor, it's hard not to appreciate that.
I haven't seen the movie in a long, long time. I've been curious because certain movies from my youth definitely hold up and certain ones definitely do not. And I hear from my friends who definitely enjoy and delight in watching it and tormenting me with it, that it holds up well. The jokes and performances were just so sharp, I don't think they've probably gone anywhere. But I'm curious how the politics of the film have matured. I'm definitely curious about that.
Come on, Ron. She doesn't know her tuna fish from a Cheerio.
The damn good thing we don't have the Cheerio account.
Now, this movie was made in 1983, and it's still reflective of the times. It still is.
Which I think is the reason that the popularity has endured so long.
You did it, didn't you? You fired these guys after all they contribute. Jack. Don't jack me. After the support. Jack. Oh, man, after the devotion they gave you.
You're fired too.
Now, you fired me. I'm fired? You son of a... No!
John Hughes' father and my father had both lost their jobs. And so we both sort of lived through it. I was much older when my father lost his work and then found other work. But there was a period where he lost work and my mother went back to work. So it was reflective of our lives, reflective of the times.
I was familiar with it with my own husband. My husband, we didn't have a child yet, but my career was my baby. And he was at home. He not only managed my career, but he also bought the groceries and he made the meals and he paid the bills and he took care of the house. So he was a Mr. Mom as well at the same time.
I'll tell you quite frankly, this was one of my very first things after I'd had my first baby. And that was a juggling act in itself for me. You know, I had just gone back to work. I think I'd done one television show, but then I did Mr. Mom. And Michael's wife had just had their first child. So we were all kind of going through that same thing of trying to juggle all that.
Marriage is teamwork. It doesn't matter whether the wife is in the workforce, the husband is in the workforce, the wife is at home, or the husband is at home. Each one pulls a little harder when the other one needs help. And that's what teamwork is.
That has happened in my family many, many times. It happens to most families, and that's just the reality of the way the world works, you know. And I think the most successful families are the ones that can do that can shift roles and help out and go back and forth. Absolutely.
We touched people, and they understood it, and it became a term so that everybody knows what Mr. Mom means.
Come on. I got to come back to today's show. Chin-chow. Let's go. Run late. Yeah. Okay. Hello. I'm sorry. Stop. Oh, moving out.
Good luck.
You know, there are certain films that I've been lucky enough to be a part of that, this sounds pompous to say, but are sort of classics, you know. And I'd say that's one of them. It's one that people refer to and go to and mention. And so that's nice.
It's humbling. It's satisfying on a creative level because I worked with so many smart, creative people in front of the camera and behind the camera.
There's nothing like watching a film where you can tell everybody is having a really good time, and everybody was having such a good time. And I wish I had worse stories about being a child actor and how it ruined me forever. But man, I only assume you don't hear about people who walked away going, that was great. That was totally great. That was much better than going to elementary school.
Since I found out that we were going to do this, I've been kind of just thinking about it, and I talked to my mother about it. And all of the things that really just kind of come up was how great it was. The actual experience was so great. And I don't know that it's really possible to even give that enough credit because it's so rare. And I think it's really rare when you're a kid to have that be what that experience is.
I was able to make a movie that was meaningful under the guise of entertainment. That staying at home with the kids, whether you're the father or the mother, is a very important and very demanding job. That the kids are better for it. And you don't have to be a titan of an industry in order to be successful. You can be successful raising your children. And I'm so glad to have been part of that. And I credit John Hughes with the idea, with everything, with the idea, with the script, with everything. And I'm just glad I was along.